Welcome to the preview. I am Courtney. I am so excited about today's episode. I have two very fun guests, so this is going to be a great time for you listeners as well. I'm going to get right into it and introduce these beautiful ladies. The first guest I have is shoe designer Jamie Costello. Did I say that right, Miss Jamie?
Oh my God, it's so surreal. Yes, you did.
And our little young dynamite, E-Lorraine. Said that right, correct?
Yep, E-Lorraine.
Up and coming designer too. Yep. I just put that together that both of y'all are
up and coming, soon to be, future of fashion.
Well, Jamie, while we have you, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the listeners who you are. Did I say the wrong name? Did I say Jamie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. She kind of gave me this look like, I was like, what did I say? E-Lorraine.
Like, which one of us?
E-Lorraine. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm transgender woman, go by she, her. I moved to New York from New Hampshire, from like a real small little tiny town in the backwoods, like population of like 3,000. There's like more people on my block now than lived in my town. I've been transitioning for 4-ish years. I've like done a lot of different stuff in my community and like done trans rights and trans talks in New Hampshire, but like now it's next level. We're bringing it to New York, you know?
Well, speaking of one of them, because I know about this specifically, tell us briefly what you did when you were in high school.
When I was in high school, I was the very first in not only my like specific school, but my school district to be transgender. And once I had come out completely, changed my name legally, everything was on the right track, I went right up to my counselors, right up to my principal and said, you want to be on the right side of this now, don't you? And we got policies set in place across the school district in like our small little town. And I was the first trans woman to use the women's restroom. And like it became a big deal, but it was nice.
Yeah, cool. And changed the game. Yep. Where you from? Go, girl. What city? What's the name of the city that you're from? Or town?
Belmont.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like 1,000 other Belmonts in the world.
Belmont, New Hampshire.
Yep.
Cool. And how about you, Miss Jamie?
Yes. So born and raised in Philadelphia. Go Eagles.
Everyone that doesn't know, that's the football team.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Free Meek Mills.
Anyway. I love you for that.
So born and raised in Philadelphia. I've always been into fashion design. I went to school for design while I was in Philadelphia. From there, I moved to Atlanta for a short stint where I was inspired to develop my own shoe line. And so I guess once my lease was up, I was like, I'm out of here. And I moved to New York. I've been here for 8 years. I am also trans. I think I've been transitioning since 2014, like on and off. And then I like really went like head into it at the end of 2014.
What does that mean exactly?
What do you mean?
Into it.
There's a lot of steps. I mean, you really can't define transitioning because it's more mental more than anything. A lot of people view it as a physical change. And I mean, and it is in a lot of elements, but it really is a mental thing. Like, there's steps to becoming the woman that you feel you are. And so I started taking, like, hormone therapy. I want to say, like 2013 going into 14. Started, got a little nervous, and I was like, oh, my God, is this the right thing I'm doing? And I just went into it. I really like stayed on my meds and I was like just dedicated. Shout out to Colin Laura, is the clinic that I go to, and it's an amazing place to be. New York really, really takes care of us girls. So got my name changed. I can honestly say New York has really, really treated me very, very well while I was here. Yeah.
Good.
So I'm happy.
And how about you with your experience with that? Have you? Because I know you've only been here for 7 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God, girl! I thought you were here for so much longer.
No.
Oh my God!
Just started in the spring semester, but then really happy with it, so I'm planning to stay as long as I can.
And the podcast, as soon as you got here, you were on fire.
Well, the great thing, I want you to tell this, and I only know these stories because I met up with her last night, so I got a little brief, and because she's only 20.
I know, girl.
Like, I feel like I need to do more with my life. You know what I'm saying? Tell us about the situation you ran into, or the challenge you ran into. You got accepted to FIT Korea, correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
So I got accepted into FIT Korea.
Nice.
I was going to a school in San Francisco, but it wasn't right for me, and so I tried out for a fashion school in New York. And then I went for like 3 months through the process of getting all of the paperwork in order to go to Korea. We had my plane ticket booked. Everything was all set in order. The school was all set. But then it came down to getting my name changed, or no, my gender marker changed on my passport and my visa. And we were able to get it on my passport, but we weren't able to get it on a student visa. And so the Korean consulate denied me access to Korea. They would have let me in with like a travel visa, but that's only 90 days. So like I'd be in school for 2 months and they'd be like, all right, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And so like a week before my plane was supposed to take off, we had to cancel.
Yeah.
But it all worked out for the best.
Yeah.
Now
All
I'm
things
here.
happen, yeah.
Where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like to hear that.
But yeah, so it was a roller coaster, and like we didn't really know until a week before that there was going to be an issue. But they were like, yeah, sorry, like we have record of this happening last year, and like we have records of when you changed your gender markers, and we're just not accepting that at this time. And it was like, what do you mean? I've gone through so much.
Yeah, I have my travel booked. Dude, that's my whole thing. Oh, God, can I get my refund on my plane ticket? That's what I need to know. First, one question before we get into, I have a couple little icebreakers for you guys. But what's the biggest misconception of trans women today?
Oh, God.
I know. I've threw this on you guys.
Right?
This just came to my mind. I know. I usually tell you. Yeah. Or a misconception, something that like annoys you day to day that people will assume about you guys.
That we're like these like sexual like unicorns.
Yeah.
Like, and all we want to do is like sleep around. And
Yep.
oh God, I can't tell you how many times I've been like fetishized or like just looked at as like an object. And it's, you know, it's disheartening. And it's like whenever I go into a circle or whenever like I'm meeting someone, I make a conscious effort to like really put my best foot forward so that way you get to see the human aspect of us, because I feel like people always look at us as like other, and they always try to separate us, especially like you were saying, like the divide between the LGBT and Q community. Everyone wants to be like set apart from, I'm this, but I'm not that. And it's like, no, like we're all under one umbrella. And I like the plight of the trans women, I feel like is definitely like the sexual aspect. Like we're creators, we're lovers, we're mothers, some of us. We're divine feminine energy, and I just wish people really like accepted that and understood it. Like, you know, we're sought after, and like a lot of people won't admit it, but we really are. Like we're amazing people, but at the end of the day, we're human. Yeah. And I really wish that aspect was like, I don't know, I wish people just saw that more.
No,
yeah.
It's said very beautifully. Look at you. Oh, she be trying to act all shy.
I definitely agree. There's like this weird vibe in the community that it's like we're sex dolls in a way, and it's like, nope, no. There may be plastic in me, but I am not plastic. And then I also think that a big misconception is that like to be a trans woman, you have to be completely everything done.
Yeah.
Yep, like from vaginoplasty to your face done, your butt lifted, like everything up the wazoo, like done up to the nines. And it's just like not a reality for everybody. And therefore it makes no sense to like box trans women into only the people who have had these kinds of surgeries. We're not all Caitlyn Jenner. Nobody can just grab out their bank account.
No one probably wants to be. But go ahead.
Yeah. We can't just grab out our wallet and be like, give me it all.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big misconception.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting into an icebreaker question. Y'all ready? I'm going to just do one because y'all are already like so warm and ready. Let's see. If you could be in a movie of your choice, what movie would you choose and what character would you play? I'll start with you, Lorraine. Oh, you want me
I
to...
feel like this is a split question.
Yeah.
Because I would be in the Labyrinth with David Bowie.
Oh, okay.
And all the puppets in it, but I don't know if I'd want to be any specific character.
Yeah.
I'd want to be like me in that world. But if I wanted to be a character, I'd do a damn good Ursula.
Oh!
Poor unfortunate souls, give it to me.
Yeah. Oh my
Whole
God,
thing.
that's so good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was really,
she
really
threw
good.
me.
I know.
Now I want to kind of divide my answer. I have mine in my head, but now how about you?
Now, I'm like 3 different people on any given day. So if I had to choose my 2 favorite movies, I would have to say in life would be Clueless. I would be Dion before she went all crazy.
Yeah,
So that's Stacey
yes,
Dash.
very yes,
So I would
yes.
be Stacey Dash with the braids.
Okay.
And Mahogany, which is my
Oh,
favorite movie
I've
in life.
Never seen that.
Oh my God, you're not gay. You're not
I
a gay
know.
man. Mahogany is literally the best movie ever, especially from like a designer aspect. Like, like she was, grew up in like a small like city in Chicago, and Billy D. Williams played her romantic interest, definitely. Liked him back then. And she followed her dream to become a designer and like went to Paris and became a model and all that other stuff. And then it's a really beautiful story, really inspiring, and it was a really big hit. So yeah, Dion and the legendary Diana Ross.
Oh God. Okay, so mine. Now I'm taking a note from you, Lorraine, because you switched it up for me. I'm gonna do a split too now. I think my favorite movie is definitely Imitation of Life, the 1959 version with Lana Turner. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
So it's I don't want to tell it. I don't want to tell the whole story and be like a spoiler.
Yeah.
But it's basically a story of acceptance and wanting something that you don't have, but yet forgetting what you do have, kind of. And there was a character in the movie by the name of Sarah Jane, and she made a lot of steps to be, except she passed as a white girl, so she did a lot of that back in the 50s. That was like a big thing. So she passed a lot, but her mother was like black, like a woman like my complexion, but her dad was very, very fair skinned. So she would go through life saying she was white, but then when people found out that she was actually black, they would like mistreat her. She was beaten, like all these things. Till the very end, like you start crying. It's too much. I won't get into it, but that is my favorite movie. And then on a lighter note, I think I want to be the character of Emily Blunt in The Devil Wears Prada, because she threw the best shade in that movie. I was thinking she had the best lines than anyone ever. So that would who I would be. So we are getting into today's topic.
Oy.
And so less than a month ago, RuPaul's comments got him in a little bit of trouble. And I will read a couple of... he had an interview with Guardian magazine, and basically they did a profile of him, and I'll just get right into what was said. So in the profile, he says, drag loses, referring to drag queens, but back to the quote, drag loses its sense of danger and its sense of irony once it's not men doing it, because at its core, it's a social statement and a big fuck you to male-dominated culture. He also goes on to say, for men to do it, it's really punk rock because it's a real rejection of masculinity. So then as the interview continued, and I, of course, scroll down too far, so I got to scroll right back up, they refer to Peppermint. So I don't watch the show. So Peppermint is a contestant on one of the seasons. You guys watch Drag Race? I guess I should ask y'all that from the beginning. Do you watch it? You don't watch it either?
I know my gay card's probably going to get revoked. But
I know. I don't either.
It's not that I don't want to. It's just like
Me either.
I think I'm stuck like when Jujubee was on it. Like that's like the last time.
I don't.
Like season 2.
Yeah, like perfect.
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
now.
But I love. No, Alaska. Whatever episode Alaska was on, that's
6.
that. Yeah. So that's when I
so
stopped.
we do have an avid watcher. Thank God, because
I'm so
I
sorry.
had to, even when I pulled the quotes from response, I was like, no, wait, who is this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the interviewer anyway went on to ask about Peppermint as being the first openly transgender woman to compete on Drag Race, and RuPaul went on to say Peppermint didn't get breast implants until after she left the show. She was identifying as a woman, but she really hadn't transitioned, which is going to... Y'all hold the comments. I know. I see. I can feel the energy in the room. Hold on. Let me just get through it. Hold on. But this is where I think the real hit kind of happened. The interview followed up with Ru, and he asked if he would accept a contestant who had, quote unquote, really transitioned onto the show. Mm-hmm. And his response was, probably not. You can identify as a woman and say you're transitioning, but it changes once you start changing your body. It takes on a different thing. It changes the whole concept of what we're doing. We've had some girls who have had some injections in the face and maybe a little bit in the butt here and there, but they haven't transitioned. Get into reactions, your faces say it all. Who wants to go first? Just jump right in there. What do you guys think about the initial statements? Because the story just unfolds and unfolds.
Oh my God, I think I'm gonna feel like I'm rambling because I have so many thoughts going through my
Get
head
it.
with this.
We got time, girl. We got time.
Okay,
kinda.
All hell Ru. All respect to RuPaul. She's a pioneer in her own right. However, there's the whole plight of being trans and just gay in America is deeply rooted and goes back super, super far. Like, much respect to Marsha P. Johnson, who they did a documentary on, and Sylvia Rivera.
Yeah.
I watched that documentary like twice. And they were saying how she was a drag performer, but she was also trans. At that point, that was a means of survival for them.
Yeah.
They couldn't just walk in and get a job from somewhere. They lost their jobs. They couldn't, that was a source of income for them. So yeah, it was a release. It was an art form, and to be trans and to also do drag, it's like, I feel like we kind of started it.
Yeah.
It's like it's the essence of a woman. Like, you're not really a woman. Everything that we do is so extra. It's like you're supposed to be extra in that performance. And like, who teaches all the Beyoncés and the Rihannas and all of them? Like, it's gay men choreographing them to be that extra, that to put out that sexual energy. Those are trans women who perform and do those things. So many gay men are inspired by them and take a lot of cues from them to do this type of art. And Ru's a very smart businessman. Like, I think he knows what he's doing. I think he knows what he's saying.
Oh, I didn't think about that too today.
I feel like every celebrity goes through this where they say something and they retract the statement. It's like, I feel like this is like almost like a publicity stunt, because I'm just like, you've been in the game too long to say something this ignorant. To come from a place and be like, and think it's okay. It's like, once again, she said Peppermint is her name. I'm gonna wrap this up. Peppermint, but Peppermint was like, she was the first openly trans woman on the show. Once again, it's not about a physical transformation. It's like mentally, she knew she was a woman. Like, holy, you know what you are at a very young age. I knew who I was. I knew I was different, and so you can't base it off of like a physical change. Like, if she was a woman, she was a woman. So those are my thoughts, and I'm gonna let it go.
You're not, because I got some more to the story. Okay. Go ahead, E-Lorraine.
I feel like very opinionated about this because I'm such a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, and so it's like the person you're looking up to, like, attacking your community, which is like, like, stab right to the heart. But I definitely think that it's really damaging, I think, to the trans community, such a figure in the gay community saying essentially what he's saying is, you are not a real woman until you have gotten breast augmentation, had surgery, which is completely false. And it makes anyone who hasn't fully transitioned seem like so much less, which is so rude and so disrespectful. And they don't there's so many different ways in the community that you can transition, and there's no set path, and it makes it seem like there's one end goal, and there's not. There's so many different ways you can go and still be trans. And him making those remarks is demeaning to those people who aren't taking that path. That being said, he says a little bit of lip injections, a little bit of a butt lift. No. One of the contestants has had their entire face redone to look like Cher, and they won All-Star Season 1. And so it's not like it's a little bit here and a little bit there. That's not the issue. It's that you are trans and have had surgery, which is problematic, to say the least. He has apologized since, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
I'm going to get into the apology. I first want to talk about, because I remember when it happened, a lot of like gay men on my timeline on my Instagram and Twitter were like putting stuff out, and I was like, what are they talking about? So I'm going to it, like reading it, and then it was Monday. So I think it happened on like a Friday or Saturday when it like dropped, the Guardian interview dropped, and like the press got a hold of it. And then on Monday, the follow-up tweet that he sent, which I want to hear your opinion on that, which I thought, reading that again today, I was like, I wonder, was this a publicity stunt today too? But in the tweet, he goes, you can take performance-enhancing drugs and still be an athlete, just not in the Olympics. So what do you guys say to that?
Shade.
Shade. So do you think that came from like a very publicity type standpoint, or do you think it was coming from the heat he was, because he was getting apparently like a lot of heat over the weekend. There were like tons of tweets going in, replies, some from his former contestants, some from just, I mean, everyone. And this is how he followed up on that Monday, which is interesting because it wasn't showing any remorse for the statements he said prior, which kind of now leaves me questioning where he really stands with all of this, and if the apology was then in fact kind of something that kind of yeah. What do you guys think about that? I'm looking at you, but you can speak.
Go ahead.
I think it's really rude.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they say that Peppermint was the very first trans woman on the show, which she was absolutely not. Being a very big fan of the show, I can name plenty. Carmen Carrera, Jiggly Caliente.
I'm glad you own, because go ahead.
Honey Mahogany. So many different trans women. And then a lot of them were taking estrogen on the show. This specific quote, I would say, is him referring to a drag performer taking estrogen. But
and talk to me a little bit about that, because I had to ask you about this last night when I met you off record. Tell me about the whole thing with like estrogen and why that.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, there's been contestants before, but because they didn't explicitly say it, and because they hadn't had physical changes from it, it was okay. But then if there's physical changes from estrogen, which like you're going back and forth because your show is clearly showing trans women who have been on estrogen, and then you're saying, oh, we don't take that here. But I personally have like a problem with saying a trans woman has to be on estrogen because as a child, I had a heart condition. I was born with tricuspid atresia. One of the valves in my heart wasn't developed at all. It just like didn't form. And so like it was fixed when I was younger. I've lived a happy, healthy life. But when I wanted to transition, I like started to see an endocrinologist, but they sent me back and said, no, you need to see a therapist first. We need to see proof that like you've thought this through. You're really aware of what you're doing. You are a woman. And at this point, I'd been living like full-time as E-Lorraine for a year and a half. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure you asked anybody who knows me that it's true. But so I did the whole thing. I went to 2 years of therapy. And then after the 2 years, I went to the endocrinologist and I said, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this. And they said, oh, no, ma'am, you have a heart condition. And I said, yeah, you knew that the first time I came in. Yep. Well, that heart condition, you will die if you go on estrogen. If I went on estrogen, I would get a blood clot within the first 3 to 4 months, and it would travel up to my tiny little heart, and it would shatter that thing. And so, like, personally, I think it's so rude and disgusting to say that to be a trans woman, you have to be on estrogen, because I literally can't. It's like estrogen or death. And honestly, I love myself, and I ain't trying to die no time soon.
You choose life. Exactly.
Yeah, I choose life. And so, like, it's problematic. Ugh.
You got something to add? I feel like I can just feel you just ready to fight over here. Now, what you got to say, Jamie?
No, it's just, it's such a touchy subject.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people have different views on what it is to be trans. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's a mental thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's unless you transition, you have no idea what we go through mentally with acceptance, with loving yourself, and going back and forth and making sure like, am I doing the right thing, and then knowing wholeheartedly that you are, and still having to break down stereotypes and let people know like I'm a woman, like whether you see that or not, like whether it's a physical or whether it's a mental thing, it's like I'm a woman, like accept it or get out of my way.
I know that's right. One of the tweets that I actually kind of added on to what you guys have said, which actually even made me sick, because I think initially being like a gay man, you don't realize how serious those comments can be. I first read it and I was like, I kind of thought to myself like, what is the big deal? And then I was thinking, like, why would a trans woman even want to be, because I know there is a clear difference between a drag queen and a trans woman. So then I thought, well, trans women probably aren't that offended, because I'm sure sometimes you are perceived as like a drag queen, and some people may get the two confused. But it wasn't until I kind of like read a couple of these tweets, I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. And I'll read it and then I'll continue to talk. Although I do feel one of the contestants, and I'm sorry I didn't get her name, but I know you may be able to, since you're a pro at this. One of the contestants from season 7 actually tweeted, although I do feel the separation from being a drag queen and now a trans woman, there should not be any reason to be not accepted when it comes to the art of drag. If you are a fierce artist, you're a fierce artist, and you should be judged based on your art, not your gender identity, which I thought was like just beautifully said. And then there was another tweet that I really, really enjoyed. Twitter just be serving just everything for me on the replies, and they'll get at you really hard. One of the people tweeted, "I'm heartbroken that a community begging for inclusivity and acceptance would be so hypocritical as to profit from the trans community while simultaneously acting as an oppressor," which I think is very interesting too.
Yeah. I agree. Like, even if you go to any of like the trans shows in New York, I have to take you on that. You'll love it. We're going. We're going. No, but yeah, like even at those shows, the trans women are performing right along with non-trans women.
Yeah.
Like it's inclusive, and that's what I love about New York. Like, it's such a sense of community. People, unless you live here, you don't really know how New York is. You can assume that it's a fast and rough city, like, and it is at times. But no, people, like, they want to help you. Yeah. People want to be inclusive. Like, I remember when I first went into my job, like, my manager, she wanted to hire me because I was trans and she didn't have anyone trans there. Wow. So you know what I mean? Like New York is very open in that way, and so to see that, especially from Rue, this is your breeding ground.
Yeah, this is who you
in this. So it's how are you even saying this? Once again, I still go back. I really think this is like a publicity type thing, and it goes back to all publicity, whether it's bad or good or it's good publicity, and we're talking about it,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm hoping this is a joke.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's hard, but then you gotta, like you said, I wonder what she thinking about all the trans girls who really enjoy doing Drag Race or really enjoy watching drag and being in it, and what she said and how bad that affected them. Yeah. It's there's not just gay men who love Drag Race. Everyone loves Drag Race. You know what I mean?
I think that's one of the most fascinating things about Drag Race. It's become so mainstream, and now everybody.
I'm no, if she really wants to make it up to us, I feel like she should definitely do, if she wants to separate the categories. Ooh. If you want to, and I want 10% for this, there should be the trans edition. If you want to do it that way, I mean, if you're going to make it that way, it shouldn't be that way. You get what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I don't understand why. I don't understand why she said it. Yeah. I don't get it.
So going to her apology, because then she apologized. So after she tweeted Monday morning the thing about the Olympics, she then released an apology Monday night, so same day, saying, "Each morning I pray to set aside everything I think I know, so I may have an open mind and a new experience. I understand and regret the hurt I've caused. The trans community are heroes of our shared LGBTQ movement. You are my teachers." He went on to say, "In the 10 years we've been casting Drag Race, the only thing we've ever screened for is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, and that will never change." So what do you guys have to say to that apology? Is that a...
She sounds like I keep saying she because I think of her as Rue.
Yeah.
And you see how she gets to go in between both?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It seems like it's coming from like a heterosexual person. Like, how are you not cognizant of what you're saying?
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit sterile.
Saying?
I feel like it was a bit sterile.
Like, it just doesn't feel genuine at all to me.
Yeah. And it's like, it didn't feel that genuine. I think especially the like, all we screen for is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Because it just doesn't feel genuine. It feels like it's some publisher typed it up and said, "Now you're gonna tweet this."
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Somebody in a back room with a typewriter.
Yeah, especially to know Rue, because like I just recently watched. Prior to this, I watched his interview with Oprah on Soul Sunday.
Yeah,
and it was so good, and he's very much a really down to earth personality. So this tweet does seem a little bit off to me.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem.
It doesn't sound like him at all.
Yeah, it sounds just very like sterile, and so that brings me to my question for you guys. Should the community boycott Drag Race? Like, how do you drive home how you feel? Or I feel like if this was any other arena, I think, although he got backlash via like social media and all these outlets like wrote this, which may be a publicity stunt, which may drive his numbers, his viewers up actually, as opposed to not. Like, what should we do? Because I feel like you do have to hold people accountable. And I know boycott is pretty extreme, but I believe in a boycott all day, every day. Like, you say something foul or something crazy, I would never spend money with you. I would never be part of it. I would never promote you, anything like that. So do you think that's extreme, or do you think you need to put your money where your mouth is? I went there, didn't I?
Did.
I did. No, I get so upset because I get really emotional as much as, because if he does truly think this way, he is still making a profit off the trans community. And even if this is a publicity stunt, you've just kind of banked on some of that by people watching, if you are going to tune in for it. But is it extreme? Should we be more forgiving? And this is just, I don't know how I really even feel about, like, should we boycott? I don't watch it, so he wasn't getting my viewership anyway. However, I love him and I respect him, but it does like kind of leave me questioning his character, I will say, open and honestly. Like, I feel like there should be an interview put out, like a legit in-face interview, and someone like a Barbara Walters to really go there for him and really ask him those tough questions. But do you think this is enough? Do you think we should be forgiving because he is in our community? Or, I mean, because it's very similar to Stacey Dash being, I mean, you brought her up earlier, being a black woman, I won't say going against the black community, but she is like, she viciously attacks like the black community over and over again, almost as if she's forgotten. It's a little bit different because black people ain't messing with her no more. But we have control alt delete on her. But like, what should we do? What should the action be? If not boycott, first answer me: should we boycott? And then if not, then what? Oh, I just got y'all stumped, didn't I? Oh, look at this.
I don't know. I never want to like tear down like another, I guess, someone from my community, but yeah, I think there should be a call to action. I feel like maybe even the trans women, like, you know, I feel like she has to be held accountable, because it's like, it's no way you actually really feel this way after all these years of entertaining and being in the community and knowing what the struggle was like before you became RuPaul.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand it. And I feel like sometimes when people reach a certain level of success, they remove themselves from who they used to be, and they feel like they no longer understand like what it was to be other. Yeah. Because you're so accepted now. Yeah. And it's like, for you to like not see that, it's a problem for me. Yeah, it really is, because it's not easy being who we are. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of doors we have to kick down, like to just simply be. Yeah, and that's for everyone, even in the LGBTQ community. Like which is so funny for me, because we, as a gay man, we still trying to break down doors and trying to like be seen on TV, you're looked at a certain way, but when you walk in the door, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, you know, you have to always feel like you have to overcompensate sometimes, or like really show people, this is my personality, like this is who I am. I know what you guys are probably thinking, but this is like, you know, like we're so multifaceted, we're so talented, we have so many layers to us. I hate being judged on who I am
Right.
or what I look like, because you don't know me. So yes, going back to your question, I feel like there needs to be definitely like a sit down. Like, why do you feel this way? Like, we really need to know. Like, because once again, when people are typing things, or when reporters report things, I should say.
I think both, a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like, people, they change your words a lot.
Yeah.
Like, and people don't understand that with writing and journalism. Like, people spin stories and paint them the way they want to paint them. And so I feel like she definitely, maybe she did say it that way. And like, I feel like she fell into the trap, which once again, I'm like, Rue, you've been doing this for too long to be saying what you're saying. Like, sis, come on.
So I don't think that we should boycott the show. I think the show does a lot for so many people.
Yeah.
And especially like my first experience with the idea of what a trans woman was through RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm like young enough that like I was introduced to the community through that show.
I'm doing this because we got a video in here. I can't have you out in the streets. You'd be mad at me.
That's a real friend.
Yeah.
Thank you. And like I was introduced to it at a young age on my grandmama's couch. We watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and I was like, I like what's going on there.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll go there.
Yeah.
But so I don't think that we should boycott the show. I'm not sure what kind of action should be taken. I definitely think like a Barbara Walters kind of sit down could be very beneficial to everyone. However, in the past, there was an incident for a long time. Every time, you know how like on America's Next Top Model, it's Tyra Mail on RuPaul's Drag Race.
I know. I forgot to even. It's so funny that you brought that up, because this is not the only controversy that kind of happened around that. Because it was first the Lance Bass was, I guess, a host on the one of the panel judges, and he got in trouble and had to apologize for using tranny. I think it was like the term tranny. Yeah. And then. Like you said, he used to have this segment called She-Mail.
She-Mail. And then there was a little... That, like, got away. He got away with that for a real long time.
Which is interesting, because I read his reply to that, recently, and he was like, the network or something. And I'm like, how you just gonna blame the whole? Because it's still your show. Like, you could have still been like...
Still RuPaul's.
RuPaul's. You could have definitely, like...
But Logo TV's Drag Race.
You know, it's funny you say that. But with trans, there's a level of the performance part of drag. It's a level of inappropriateness that's allowed. So like, and you go to those shows because you like that they're inappropriate and they're lewd, and they, like when you're in the audience, sometimes they talk about you and and say like provocative things. So those type of things, honestly, like to be honest, that really doesn't bother me because I get it. It's like a play on words, and that's part of our community. Like I mean, now we live in such a climate where we're really hypersensitive to everything. Right. So it's like, what point is it, or when do you feel like you're crossing the line at some certain point when it's just comedy? Because if you think even comedy in itself, it's like back in the day, like like Def Comedy Jam and like places like that, they were allowed to say some really provocative stuff. And like now, if someone says something, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. You know what I mean?
Boycott.
No,
I'll be ready to get somebody. I'll be ready to get.
You got a sign.
Done. Okay.
But I don't think that the show should be boycotted because
I know, as an avid watcher.
But then there was also a segment on the show that he played with contestants and they got points. It was a mini challenge. And it was female or she-male. Are you a psychological or a biological woman? And it showed pictures from the head down of different women, some cisgendered, some trans, and asked the contestants to see if they thought they were trans.
And he didn't get no backlash from that? Because that sounds very...
The she-male lasted up until then. And then there was so much backlash from that one segment and she-male in general. It all got changed.
Well, see, you unleashing some stuff, because I feel like if you go through something like that, like how you gonna be ignorant and loose with your Twitter fingers and what you speak about as far as the trans community?
What I'm saying is like,
wow. Well, we have some things to think about.
We do.
We are out of time for this episode.
No.
I want to thank both of you guys for coming. Shout out to both of you guys and shout out to yourselves. Tell people where they can find you, your designs, all of that.
Oh my God.
Ready.
So you can follow me on Instagram. My name is J Costelli, Costellle _, and you can follow my journey into shoe design.
Ooh,
there, yeah.
fun.
Thank you.
And you can follow me on Instagram as well. That's E's better than you. That's ES better than letter U.
And as always, be sure to tweet us. Let us know what you think. The Privy Podcast on Twitter, Privy Podcast on Instagram, and then soon to be www.theprivypodcast.com. But we're launching that in the next week or two, so y'all just relax on that one. It may be up in the next couple of weeks. But as always, thank you guys, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.